Canada's truckers are in a face-off with Justin Trudeau over vaccine mandates and COVID restrictions, but the Prime Minister has gone into hiding. Last week, over 50,000 truckers marched from Vancouver to the Canadian capital of Ottawa to protest strict vaccine mandates aimed at their industry. They, and thousands of other on-foot protesters, arrived in Ottawa over the weekend, gridlocking the capital and bringing the city to a halt. What began as a small group in Vancouver grew into thousands of truckers slow-rolling their rigs across the country in what they've called the Freedom Convoy.
Your country's in revolt. Some insane amount of people, like 50,000 trucks, that are headed to Ottawa to protest the vaccine mandates by Trudeau.
The movement quickly took the internet by storm, and in less than 2 weeks, they raised over $8 million and amassed over 405,000 followers on Instagram. Influential voices like Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, Russell Brand, and Donald Trump have all come out in support of the truckers.
We want those great Canadian truckers to know that we are with them all the way.
But even so, the mainstream media has remained silent. Trudeau's response to the protest, before he moved to a secret location, was to call the movement a fringe minority who held what he called unacceptable views.
The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing.
One participant from the protests told the Post-Millennial that he doesn't plan to leave until Trudeau resigns and the mandates are removed.
I plan on staying until it's over. Until Justin resigns, all mandates are lifted.
The movement has also expanded internationally, with trucker convoys and protests popping up in countries like Australia, Brazil, and Italy. Now, the US media is stepping in to defend Trudeau and accuse the protesters of insurrection and taking food away from homeless people.
Meanwhile, Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson said some protesters harassed a soup kitchen, demanding free meals because their refusal to wear masks meant they were not to order in restaurants.
So these anti-vaxxers actually took food from the mouths of the homeless.
Hungry, yeah.
Because they're so put upon.
This, of course, echoes the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol last year. Now, organizers of the truckers' convoy have made it very clear that they do not want to see any violence whatsoever.
Here's how it all started. On January 15th, Canada's federal vaccine mandate for truckers went into effect. Under this rule, Canadian truckers returning from the United States must be vaccinated or take a COVID-19 test and self-quarantine for 14 days. Then, on January 22nd, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security announced that all non-American citizens coming to the States through the Mexican and Canadian borders, including truckers, must be fully vaccinated. According to the Canadian Trucking Alliance, this mandate could sideline over 20% of Canadian drivers, which would be a huge hit to the already stressed supply chain. And in the United States, we're already facing such a severe shortage of truck drivers that the federal government has created a pilot program to allow 18 to 20-year-olds to become cross-country big rig drivers. Of the $521 billion worth of goods traded between Canada and the United States every year, it's estimated that 2/3 are transported on roads. So needless to say, there is a lot at stake. Some Canadian executives have said that manufacturers are already seeing delivery delays and price increases because of the mandates. And with Canada's inflation rate hitting a 30-year high in December, and the United States hitting a 40-year high in the same month, it's clear that neither Canada or the United States can afford to take another hit to their economies. And the truckers know how significant this pain point is.
You see, Trudeau, there's something you're gonna figure out. It's people like me in this industry that feed you, bring you fuel, everything you take for granted. I'm gonna tell you something. We run this country, not you. Without us, this place don't move. We've had enough.
So on January 18th, soon after Canada implemented their new mandate, truckers began protesting by blocking all lanes of traffic to and from the United States near the U.S.-Manitoba border.
Dozens of trucks and other vehicles lining up at southern Alberta's busy Canada-U.S. border crossing.
What we'd like to see is everything go back to the way it was in 2019 before all this started.
And simultaneously, they began planning something even bigger. Over the next week, they organized and raised money for a convoy, On Sunday the 23rd, the first part of the Freedom Convoy departed from Vancouver and began driving to Ottawa, Canada's capital city. Early on in the week, it was estimated that there were over 50,000 trucks and over 500,000 truckers, family members, and supporters heading towards the Canadian capital, and the convoy grew to be over 40 miles long. At first, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau seemed unfazed by the protest and blamed Canadian Conservatives for igniting supply chain concerns. He told reporters the Conservative Party and Conservative politicians are fear-mongering to Canadians about the supply chain, but the reality is that vaccination is how we're going to get through this. However, as the convoy grew and the truckers got closer to the capital, Trudeau seemed to change his tune. After testing positive for COVID, Trudeau said that he was isolating. However, he held a press conference outside of a residence to address the protest. He accused the group of using hateful and racist imagery.
Freedom of expression, assembly, and association are cornerstones of democracy, but Nazi symbolism, racist imagery, and desecration of war memorials are not. It is an insult to memory and truth.
And then, as the truckers began to descend upon Ottawa's Parliament Hill over the weekend, Trudeau and his family moved to an undisclosed location for personal reasons. Undeterred, over 10,000 protesters joined the truckers on foot and began to occupy Ottawa's Parliament neighborhood, where they are singing, dancing, holding church services, and peacefully protesting. While it looks like there won't be a confrontation between the protesters and Trudeau soon, because of his COVID quarantine, there might still be an opportunity. Many participants have indicated that they will continue to protest and block streets for weeks, months, or even years. Organizers say that they have raised enough money to keep the protest going for as long as 2 to 4 years. For the latest updates on Canada's trucker protest, even if it does stretch for a couple of years, visit dailywire.com. I'm Brett Cooper. Thanks for watching.